Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Hope everybody is doing well. We got the latest Manchester United news, big updates. Vivell pushing very hard for Yan Diomande. He's made him his top target. He's pushing very hard to get this done. Manchester United very interested. Reports coming out saying that they will push and make a big effort to sign a left winger this summer along with the central midfielders. We got updates surrounding the central midfielders yet again. We got sort of reaction after yesterday's loss. We need to discuss sort of some of the fan base's reaction to the loss yesterday. And then also some reaction from obviously one named Mr. Paul Scholes, and sort of the fallout of that. And we do got some other big news as well. So it's going to be a good show. Please make sure you are smashing the like button. It is very important to the channel. It helps a lot of Reds see the video, find the community, find the channel. So get that done, people. Massive help and massive thank you for doing so. And if you're new and you enjoy the content, smash the like, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when we go live. But let's just sort of get into some of the big news today that came out, and then we'll discuss sort of the match yesterday and I guess what you can describe it as the fallout from the loss yesterday and the performance. Okay, couple things surrounding the midfield. Starting the midfield update, and Tottenham have taken the lead against Crystal Palace there, 1-0 to Tottenham. But one of the updates we got was from Alex Crook today. Manchester City are reportedly ready to intensify their pursuit of Elliot Anderson, who is believed to prefer a move to them over Manchester United. Okay. And then Graham Bailey, another person, coming with another update about Elliot Anderson at the same time as Alex Crook, saying, I have to be honest, for several weeks now, multiple sources have told me that Elliot Anderson to Manchester City is a done deal. While City and Nottingham Forest haven't confirmed anything, it seems Anderson knows where he'll be playing next season at the Etihad. This is a little bit interesting in terms of, I mean, we have been getting reports other than, you know, Alex Crook and Graham Bailey, and other reports have been saying that Elliot Anderson has not decided where he will be playing, and that decision will be made after he returns from the World Cup, and that Nottingham Forest has not even set an actual price for Elliot Anderson. And I believe, if I am correct, Ben Jacobs came with his own update about Elliot Anderson, and it is right here. And Ben Jacobs had this to say, saying reports claiming a done deal for Elliot Anderson to either Manchester United or Manchester City are not true. At the moment, Nottingham Forest have not set any asking price for the midfielder because their Premier League status is still uncertain. The club intends to wait until the season ends before entering negotiations, and they are not willing to sell Anderson cheaply. Now, I mean, it could really go either way at this point, at this moment. I think maybe from Elliot Anderson, I mean, listen, you could sort of handle it two ways. Maybe he doesn't want to leave it late, okay? Maybe he wants his future sorted before he goes to the World Cup so he can go to the World Cup. And then when he comes back, he knows where, you know, it's already sorted. And, you know, he takes his week or two off, whatever it is, and goes straight to work for whatever team he ends up going to. You know, maybe he wants it sorted, or maybe he hasn't actually made a decision, and maybe he's decided that he will focus on that after the World Cup is over. And maybe there isn't, you know, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that before sort of going with England and going to the World Cup. And maybe he just wants to kind of just go to the World Cup and then figure it out after. Also, obviously, you got the second party involved. Okay, it's not just Elliot Anderson, but also then you have to deal with Nottingham Forest. And, you know, I think with Nottingham Forest, they are in sort of that position where they are hanging on by a thread. They're not relegated, but they ain't safe. And I think it will obviously make a big difference to them whether they stay up or not, and, you know, how much they're going to really ask for him, because they know they're going to lose him either way. But if you get relegated into the championship, you're only going to be able to get a certain price for him. Whereas if you stay in the Premier League, maybe you could get a little bit more money. Well, I would expect for them to get more money, right? So I don't know. I've always been in the sort of position from the updates that we've been getting. I've been of the opinion that, I feel like it's a bit early, and we've always been told that he hasn't really made up his mind up yet, and he hasn't made his decision yet on where, he's gonna go. But I mean, we did have sort of a bit of maybe a similar situation with Semenyo, and Manchester City have been moving a little bit more ruthless and a little bit more direct than maybe they've done so in the past. And, they came in, they got Semenyo done, they went for Gahey, they weren't really messing around with those things. And maybe they're not messing around with Elliot Anderson either. And, they could maybe just have like a sort of maybe like a personal agreement between player and club, and maybe sort of giving them the go ahead in that department. But obviously then the negotiations will have to be left up to Manchester City and Nottingham Forest. But for Manchester City, when you have owners and you got money to be able to spend whatever you want to spend, it's not really going to be a problem. So maybe he's already given his word, I guess. But I guess, words don't mean pen to paper. So, I mean, maybe he's given his word to Manchester City. Maybe he's given them sort of the go ahead, in that he's told them, I want to join you, and let's make it happen as soon as possible. Maybe it's something that does happen when the season ends. That sort of seems like, listen, there is a period in between the season ending and the start of the World Cup. And if City get a bunch of the work done, and Nottingham Forest's position is clear in terms of if they're staying up or down, they just sort of tell City, or they just say, this is our price. If City are okay with it, they will, pay it, and the deal could be done, sort of immediately. So, lots of United fans, myself included, we rate Elliot Anderson, we want him, but we could sort of miss out very early. This could be one. And, he's him and many others that are included in the midfield debate. Okay, there's a lot of options. I was talking about this today with my father. There's a lot of options for the midfield. Yeah, this year. There's a lot of there's a lot of players that seem to be potentially moving or available. Which is good, because there is also sort of a significant interest from a bunch of different teams that are looking for midfielders as well. So it's a little bit better than the striker situation, than the one that we sort of just went into in the summer. There's a few top teams looking to sign strikers, and the striker market is a little bit more it's a little bit more limited. It's a bit more pricier. The midfield, we do need, I keep saying 3, because I do believe we need 3. We need 3 midfielders, but there is an abundance so far. I mean, obviously, there's different levels between them, but I feel like a lot of the midfielders that have been linked to Manchester United, they're all very good candidates. How you rank them, one's going to be better than the other, but I do think that the lists for us so far, in connection with us, it's a quite strong list, and if we could get 1 or 2 of them out of that list, I think we'll be in good hands for that aspect. So, Lawrence is here. Says, hola, all. Flowers. Yeah. You don't like him. I like him. I like him. Forest have shown us they'll stay up. I don't agree always with him, but I like him. Into my political spectrum. There's a lot of scraping over Ruben legacy because he improved the team, but one community hated the formation, so we're glad to see a lumpen 4-3 restored without a reinvigorated midfield. Well, listen, I don't know. I mean, those guys, they were there the whole time. They didn't like the formation. They went on about the formation. I think we made it quite I think we made it quite clear on this channel that, okay, maybe the formation, maybe not the formation, but regardless of formation, there was always extra added problems that go far beyond the formation and just the manager. Yeah. And I've seen a bit of talk of that today, but we'll get into that in a little bit, I promise. Let's get through sort of the transfer news, and then we'll get into a more general discussion about some things that are flying around the fan base today and being discussed, okay? Another update on the midfield situation here, and then we'll get to Vivell and Yan Diomande, okay? Manchester United admire Sandro Tonali. We saw Sandro Tonali play us against us yesterday. He had a fantastic performance, right? And I think I said it yesterday as well. I said, well, out of all the guys that we have been linked to, right, that has played against us, that have been linked to us, I think Sandro Tonali, if you want to call that sort of a, a trial for him, I guess. A performance trial for us. I think he had probably the best one. Out of all the players that were linked to us, he was really, really good. And even my father, who was, he's very old school, so he's very tough. Standards are very high. He's very tough. Very criticized. And even he said we should sign Tonali. He's a very good player. So he passes the father test. Another update also. Okay. I didn't do the Tonali thing. Manchester United admires Sandro Tonali, but the midfielder's preferred move would be a return to Italy. This is like the 5th or 6th time we've been told this. So, I would say that's always a strong possibility. They're going to say that the key issue is whether any Italian clubs can actually afford him, which is a good point. Which could still open the door for United to enter the race if a deal becomes possible. That is a good point, okay? Because, when my father said that, he said, what's it going to cost us, 100 million? I said, could be. I said, I don't know sort of what's with Newcastle's situation. A club that is supposed to be the richest club in the world or has the most money behind it, but they can't actually spend it. And they're sort of having the season they're having in the Premier League, okay? They're not going to finish in a European spot. They're going to lose money from that. They are still in the Champions League. And I guess depending on how far they continue to go in there, they'll get a certain amount of money for reaching a certain stage. But, I find it a bit strange that, like, if you're a club like that, how can you be possibly looking at losing players like Bruno Guimarães or Anthony Gordon and Sandro Tonali? To me, these are probably three big players, massive players for them, but it's probably 3 of their best players and strongest players. So I think it's a little bit of, there's room for it to go down, but there's also room for it to go up because, if Tonali is available, we ain't going to be the only ones. If a transfer war or a bidding war ensues, then obviously the price can go up. If Newcastle sort of have a bit of troubles and, they'll try and stand strong, but they'll probably concede lower a little bit somewhere. So, we will see how this one goes. I think this is going to be, that one's probably going to be a bit of a saga for a while, the Sandro Tonali one, okay? We also did get an update, on Bruno Guimarães, who did not play the match yesterday. He was out injured, okay? We did get this update a few days ago. There was a couple outlets, couple journalists reporting that Casemiro recommended Bruno Guimarães to Manchester United, and Ben Jacobs has followed that up with also reiterating that Casemiro has recommended Bruno Guimarães to Manchester United, but he's given us a bit more detail following that up, and said if Guimarães were to leave Newcastle United, he would be open to staying in the Premier League. Despite publicly showing strong loyalty to the club, there's always been a willingness from his side to discuss a move within England. However, the links to Sandro Tonali carry more substance, while Elliot Anderson remains United's top midfield target if a deal can be done. And it's, the top targets seem to be shifting every sort of day, although I will say Elliot Anderson seems to be the one that seems to be the one. You know, he has throughout the time since he's been linked with us, he's been mentioned in every conversation. He's been consistently for months now, been basically named as the top target. I think maybe it was sort of switching back between him and Carlos Baleba at one point. But for a good amount of time now, it's just been consistently reported that Elliot Anderson is now the top leader in this. To me, it makes a bit of sense because, I mean, even if he's in the top 3, I think, you know, prioritizing targets, okay, if your plan is to get 2 out of a list of 3, 4, or 5, okay, and even if he maybe, you know, maybe you rate one higher than the other, but I think with the fact of that, maybe Manchester City are very serious or very interested in Elliot Anderson, or there's some high competition for Elliot Anderson, and maybe there's a little bit sort of less serious interest or less competition in some of the other targets, you then automatically, I mean, if you really want the guy, you automatically have to prioritize him as number 1. Because if you don't go head-to-head with the other club is going to obviously make the offer. They're going to swoop in. They're going to take him. So, you know, if somebody is moving for one of your targets, you know, it's a little bit like video game time, okay? It's a little bit like video game time, right? When you're playing like Football Manager, or maybe you're playing career mode, yeah? And you know how you got the short list. And maybe you got a couple players in there, and you're like, you know what? I won't really buy them right now. Maybe I don't have enough room in the squad. Or maybe, you know, you're just keeping an eye and you say, you know what? Let them develop at that club for like another year or 2. Let them do the work, and then I'll come in and swoop them in because you know they're going to be a very good player. And then, you know, somewhere along that line, you know, you see like it pops up on your thing and it says, oh, like Real Madrid or Chelsea or somebody has made an offer for this player. And you go, well, fuck, now I got to get involved. Because don't want them going there, and I wanted that player, so now I'm going to have to go and buy him to make sure that he doesn't go there. And I kind of think that's what's maybe happening a little bit, is that United definitely have like their 2 top targets, but by default, because of the interest from Manchester City and potentially, you know, Arsenal or Liverpool, and, you know, Chelsea can just enter whenever they want as well. You have to, you basically, you know, if Elliot Anderson is your, even if you rank him number 2 or number 3, if you still want him and you still want to go for him, well, you have to prioritize him first, because, you know, there's some reports that Manchester City are making a serious move and inquiring. Things are sort of heating up from that end, so you're gonna have to compete with them on that front. And you can't always go in the direction maybe you want to. You have to sort of see how the market is laying out. So, we will see. But again, like I said, I mean, there's right now, okay, like, you know, the list is a pretty strong list. The names being linked to us for the midfield candidates is pretty strong. I mean, Bruno Guimarães, Tonali, Elliot Anderson, Baleba, and there's a bunch more, you know, João Gomez, and still it was one at one point. I don't know if he still is. He's kind of on the lower end. But, you know, there's a lot of, like, actually good talent in that. It's a very, very strong list. So at least there's options. And gives us a bit of flexibility, I guess. Okay? So we'll see how that goes. Grace says 3-1 Palace. There ain't no way. It was just 1-0. Grace, are you lying to us? It is 3-1, pal. What the fuck? How did that happen? I apologize, Grace, for questioning your... I apologize, Grace. I couldn't believe that. I thought you were trolling. I couldn't... When I started the show about 15 minutes ago, it said Tottenham 1-0. It's halftime. Tottenham have a red card, and Tottenham are losing 3-1. Van der Ven got a red. Well, maybe... You know what? Conspiracy time for Van der Ven. He wants out of Tottenham. He needs them relegated so they because they want 125 million pounds for him, and no one paying 125 million. He needs Tottenham relegated to get out of there. Van de Ven doing himself a favor. Van de Ven doing God's work out there. Spurs are getting relegated. I've been saying it. They're gonna get relegated, and it's gonna be funny. And I hope they do. They won't make it out of the championship. I hope they do. Fuck them. Fuck them. I'm tired of them. And you know what? I told them, enjoy that trophy. Enjoy that gift we gave you, because we gifted it to you. Okay? Enjoy the gift. That's your parting gift. All right? We'll see you in about 42 years from now. All right? Forest has shown us they'll stay up. Well, listen. It's going to be a crazy finish. They could stay up. They could very well stay up. But it is very tight there, okay? It is very tight, and anything can happen. It literally only takes, it's basically down to the wire right now. All it takes is basically a result. One result between three teams. And it's, you're playing sort of musical chairs with that last spot, that 18th place. So, club under this regime will, of course, spin towards Baleba as a young investment. An oldish replacement for Uncle Cass in the identical position, eerie stuff. Biggest club to ever get relegated. You know who is defo staying up? United, yes. Well, it's good to see you in some good spirits, Grace, even after yesterday's loss, because some of our fans, or some of the fan base, I should say, I don't really know how to take it. I really can't, some people had an absolute fucking meltdown yesterday because we lost the match. And then they started talking about Carrick, and they started talking about, we haven't been that good. And I was like, well, where the fuck was all this talk before we went into the match? Because I saw a flurry of people coming out and talking about Ruben and Ruben this and Ruben that. I'm like, bro, Ruben is gone and he's never coming back, and Ruben hasn't been in charge for fucking 7 matches. We take an L, now we're talking about Ruben again. Okay. If you want to make a point about Ruben with the board, fine. But, I'm bored of it now. It's over. There's no, we've done that. We've talked about the formation, the system, and all the voodoo shit, whatever. It is what it is. This team don't suit a 4-2-3-1. I know. That's what they'll be saying next. I can't wait. We're about a half a loss away from half of the fan base saying this team doesn't suit a 4-2-3-1. I'm just waiting for it. We don't suit a 3-4-2-1. We don't suit a 4-2-3-1. We don't suit a 4-4-2. We don't suit a 4-3-3. We don't suit a fucking 5-3-2. What do we suit? What do we actually suit? Because people will just start making shit up as we go. We don't suit this formation. Then we go in this formation. Well, we ain't good enough to play this formation. We don't have the players to play that formation. Okay, so my whole thing is the whole time that I've been doing this, all right? Why do I keep making the argument, does the formation actually fucking matter after a certain point? Does it actually matter, or should we just be focusing on the personnel? And should we be focusing on the board? In serious, our attack suits a front two. We suit pass to Bruno and pray. Well, some people have said that, but I don't know. That sort of statement bothers me a bit, because it's just like, I mean, how do you have a player like Bruno, and he does what he does, and you can't figure out how to. I just feel like that's somehow just a United problem. I kind of feel like that is just somehow it's only our problem. I feel like if you took Bruno Fernandes and you put him in like Liverpool or City or Chelsea, or Arsenal, I don't think their fan base is having a conversation, or people in the fan base are going to be making a statement where they say, we basically sacrificed the team for Bruno. So, I just like that I don't know, that thing kind of bothers me, because it's just like, I'm like, there's got to be a way to make it work. No, that's what I believe. I believe if you took him and he dropped him into another team, they wouldn't have these sort of statements. They wouldn't have these conversations. Maybe it wouldn't actually be a problem. It just actually wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be a thing, which is why they wouldn't be saying it. So, like, I get a bit annoyed from that, because I'm like, I can get the point, but I don't like when people then start going in on, like, I don't like when people start going in on him like he's created the problem, because if we just say, like, sure, it's a problem, okay, it's happening, all right? It ain't his fault, though. It's, for me, I blame the club. I blame the people running it. I blame the people in charge. Is how I see it. Cunha isn't a winger, and Buemo can't dribble past players. Well, I mean, he can, but he definitely didn't do it yesterday. And he definitely didn't have a good game yesterday in Buemo. But, I mean, I've seen him dribble past players. I don't know. He's been sort of a bit hot and cold. But he does have speed. He does have physicality. But yesterday was a very poor game for him. Cunha, I would agree, isn't a winger. We have been sort of using him there. I guess more of like an inside forward. All right. And, yeah, I always I didn't like it in the beginning, because I sort of agreed, Grace, in my initial thoughts. Like, I kind of was like, where are we going to play Cunha? And then when he started on the wing, I was like, I don't know if I really like it, because I just generally don't view him as a winger. Like, I generally wouldn't have put him there, because I don't view him as a player that can do, I guess, necessarily the job. Now, Grace, I don't know if you watched the game yesterday. I would assume you did, but maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm in the minority on this, because there was a few people yesterday that said that Cunha wasn't good and that he hasn't been good, but I thought that Cunha had actually a good game yesterday. So, I think yesterday when I was watching the match, I think Cunha from the left-hand side was one of the only players that was actually taking on players. He was actually holding the ball up. I think he got like off one or two decent shots. He didn't score, but they were decent shots. One of them was the shot that the goalkeeper had to parry it, and it fell to Buemo on the top of the 6-yard box, and he skied it over the net, which should have been a tap in and a goal. But I actually thought he had a pretty good game yesterday, so I actually thought he was pretty sharp. I mean, there was a lot of times that he was basically 2v1, or maybe even 3v1 at times, and he was, making moves, cutting past players and getting past them and dribbling and getting to at least Newcastle's box, and trying to make something happen. But the problem with Bruno is he plays next to the strikers, so we still have a midfield too. Yeah, sometimes. I didn't watch the game, but Delo was man of the match. All right. Well, yeah, see, for me, like, yesterday, since you didn't watch it, like, I still hold the opinion, like, Cunha, there was about, like, 2 players that had, like, the biggest impact yesterday, and it was Bruno, and it was Cunha. And Buemo was just off of it, and, I was saying during the watch-along, I said it in, like, the 50th minute, and I said I'd look to get Amad Diallo on in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And in the next 5 or 10 minutes, what I saw Mbeumo do, I was like, Amad Diallo has to come on now. Then he came on in the 73rd minute. I don't know why. And Mbeumo shouldn't have stayed on there. It wasn't his game. He was really far off of it. Cunha looked sharp. Sesko, he did okay. You know what I mean? Could have done better in some areas, but he just sort of was like, it was just probably just a fairly standard average performance. It wasn't, it wasn't anything exceptional, but it wasn't like horrible or anything like that. And then Kobe and Casemiro, they were a bit hot and a bit cold, but more cold than hot is how I would describe it. I mean, Cass was struggling a bit. Okay, our midfield struggled as a whole. We couldn't deal with Joelinton. We couldn't deal with Tonali. In any way, we didn't have the strength. We didn't have the pace. We didn't have the legs. We had nothing. So, and Cass was getting, caught on the ball a lot from behind. They were pressing us or, pressing us hard, pressing our midfield hard. Cass got tackled from behind at least like 3 or 4 times, losing the ball in our own half. He just wasn't reacting quick enough. And, it just was, I think it was good to a certain degree. I mean, not that I want the team to lose or anything, but I think it was good that, in a certain sense, in that it shows, because again, I always sort of refrain from being one of these people in the fan base that tend to be one of these guys that says, we're like one player or we're like half a manager or one manager away from winning the title. And I'm like, yeah, when you have a Newcastle team, okay, that's down in 12th and they were down in 13th, okay, when they're down in 13th in the Premier League, all right, and we beat them 1-0 at home on Boxing Day, all right, and even that match, we did it for a half, and then the second half or whatever was just, terrible. But when you put that midfield up against our midfield, I mean, everybody knows we need a midfield anyway, but what I've been saying, like, we need to continue to upgrade. Like, Carrick's done well coming in, but I've been saying for quite some time, and it's not just Carrick, it's basically every manager, and I've been saying it for the past, like, 2 managers, at the very least. I mean, I said it for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, but we didn't have this channel when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was there. But I've been saying it for all the managers, that if you don't continue to improve the squad properly and accordingly, the way you should be, then no matter what manager you have, they're only going to be able to take you so high. And the goalpost is obviously going to keep moving. So, once you hit a certain level, well, you get credit for that, but now the goalpost has moved up. And if the club isn't continuing to buy the proper quality and the proper positions, well, no manager is a miracle worker, okay? They're not God. They're not going to do, miracles. I know we had a little bit of a laugh with Carrick Jesus and all that, okay? But for real, though, there's only a certain level you can go to with a certain level of players, with a certain level of characteristics and attributes. So, I think that it's a bit good because it showed yesterday. And the only thing, obviously, I think that matters the most is the 3 stooges that are running our football club, in that Sir Jim, Barada, and Jason Wilcox saw that shit yesterday and, like, kind of saw what we saw and was like, yeah, like, we need upgrades. This isn't like a time to piss about and penny pinch and try to do it on the cheap. Like, we're in a very good position, but I'm telling you now, if we finish 4th and we finish 3rd, the expectations from everybody is minimum we have to finish 4th or 3rd, or the points gaps has to be closed. And to do that, we're going to have to go and spend 200 million plus in the midfield. We're going to have to go buy a winger. And we might need a left back or right back. I don't think we'll get both, but maybe you get one of them in the summer. And that's quite a bit of money. but I think it's the proper and necessary money. It needs to be spent because everybody else is going to spend money. Maybe we're a bit fortunate this season as well in terms of, start adding things up. We're playing one match a week. It has positives, it has negatives. Okay? We've played less matches, the lowest number of matches we played in the season. Maybe it's helping us, and maybe it hurts us a little bit, but maybe it helps us as well. All right? And, there was a couple teams, like Liverpool spent a bunch of money. All right? And Liverpool was expected to have a really, really strong season and basically go for the title again. And they haven't had one of those. Chelsea had really high odds to finish in the top 4. It was almost nailed on in the odds from the beginning of the season. That hasn't quite happened. Villa were doing very good at one point. They've fallen off. So these teams, though, okay, Arsenal look like they're going to win the league. City, they're going to want to win the league next season. They want to win it now. They might not be able to do it, but they're going to go for it again next season. All right? Liverpool are going to go in to make sure that they don't end up in this position that they're in now. And they're going to do what they need to do. Chelsea, they're going to spend more money because they're fucking dying to win as well. So we need to keep up. We need to keep up. Ahmad and Dorgu as fullbacks. Folk are coming over to my way of thinking now. Well, listen, if people, and not you, Lawrence, but I'm saying if other people are coming in and saying Ahmad as a fullback, I'll take credit for that. But I'll be pissed at them because these guys, there was a section of the fan base that they were like, Diallo can't play wing back. He shouldn't play wing back. But now he could play fullback. But I mean, Dorgu was always kind of a left back, fullback. I mean, a fullback, wing back anyway. I mean, he kind of fits that. Ahmad is obviously traditionally a winger. Ahmad as a fullback would be a complete waste. We need to be signing players for their actual positions. Well, could be. Depends how you use him, I guess. I mean, again, when he played wingback, Johnny, I think he did a very good job of it, and I think it kind of makes sense. I think maybe in fullback, maybe it makes a little bit less sense, but also I guess it depends how you play it. I mean, if you want to sort of divide it in terms of maybe the left back stays a little bit back more, and you have the right back go up more, and sort of double up on that right wing, and it sort of turns into kind of a 3 in the back at times. Maybe that makes sense if you want to do that. I don't think it's like a total waste because I think again he does tend to do very well in terms of making the runs from deep, and he has all that space. And you can give him the ball and you can let him dribble. When he was playing wingback, he was doing it well. I liked him at wingback. I think he was very good at it. And I think it suited the team. But, I think considering we are playing the way we're playing, I mean, if you're not going to have him basically as like almost a second winger, then there's no real point in putting him in as fullback. Not gonna lie though, I don't trust Wilcox. He's the one pushing for Poch. I was gonna get into that in a second, Johnny, because I was gonna talk about Vivell, and I've been saying for a bit of time now that I rate Vivell, and I've been saying for quite a bit that I think. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I just think that Vivell is probably the best football guy we got in terms of identifying players and stuff like that that we have at the football club. And Vivell is pushing very hard for Yan Diomande. But yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Jason 100% either because I think Jason is... Maybe he's decently good. Maybe he's slightly above average. Maybe he's just average at his job, in a certain sense. But I think Vivell has a way better eye than him when it comes to players and when it comes to like identifying targets for the teams and sort of putting the team together. I mean, that's what Vivell did at Leipzig, and he was very good at it. If you look at sort of the players he got in for them, he was very early in on a lot of these players, and he was very right on a lot of those players that turned out to be good sales for Leipzig later on down the line because they turned out to be good players. And so like, and Wilcox has some things about him. I don't 100% trust his judgment. I mean, he wanted Liam Delap. Like, he was part of that group that wanted Liam Delap. Well, Liam Delap, is Liam the Crap, okay? And thankfully, Liam the Crap rejected us for Champions League football, and he's gone to Chelsea, and he's their problem. And because of that, and then because we couldn't get Gyökeres, because he wanted Champions League football as well, and maybe he didn't want to go with Amorim or whatever, whatever the case was, and he ended up going to Arsenal. It came down to Ollie Watkins and Benjamin Sesko, and Vivell got very involved in that and vouched for Benjamin Sesko. We also had contacts on Benjamin Sesko, so we went that way. And I think in today's time, we are better off that thankfully we didn't get Jason Wilcox's number one target in Liam Delap, and we ended up getting Benjamin Sesko, who was essentially co-signed and pushed by Vivell when it came up. So, also, to be honest, I'm just that tired of Shaw and Delo that I want us to finally, after 11 plus years, to sign proper fullbacks. Well, who would you got any in mind? Because that's not really my area of expertise. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I played winger, I played central mid, I even played a bit of striker. I really understand the attacking positions, even the midfielder positions. Defensive wise, maybe because I just, it doesn't hit me in the heart or something, but I tend to pay attention to it a little bit less, or maybe I just have a less of an understanding of the position, because I never really played it. Right. So like, yeah, the wing backs and even like center backs or full backs, whatever. I don't really have like, I know if there's like a player out there that they say is good, and I know about a couple of players in some positions, but I don't really have like I don't really have like an opinion made up on like, we should definitely get that guy because he's that good. You know what I mean? Or like he has this, characteristic or skill set about him. Like, I just like, all right, maybe we need new fullbacks. Fine. Like, get us the players, but like give me a list or something so I can like, I guess pick out of. I don't really have my mind made up on it. Vivell seems goated, bro. Improved our scouting structure, and Wilcox seems like the Southgate of directors of football, heavily media trained, and we'll do whatever Ineos want. Yeah. I've been saying for time. I think I really like Vivell. You look through his history, you look at the players he got in. I think it speaks for itself. Okay. And you see some of the targets he's pushing. And, I think the guy has a brain and an eye for it. Like a really good one. A really sharp one. And I was kind of saying, like, I did say at one point, I think it was maybe, like, months and months ago, though. Like 8 months ago or something. I was like, we could probably use a couple more Vivell-type guys in that, they don't have to be necessarily do his job, what he does, but sort of his like level of just being good at your job, but in some different areas. Like, we need guys like that. Like, he's not English, okay? He doesn't necessarily have sort of, experience with the Premier League per se, but he is very good at identifying players. He is very good at sort of talent ID. He is very good at looking at a squad, seeing sort of what it's missing, looking at a player out there and saying that player will fit wonderfully in this league that plays this style to this team. And that basically, I don't know, like, basically, when, whatever his name was, I always forget his name, the guy that was originally our director of football that we sacked, Ashworth, okay? Basically, I think, personally, Vivell probably should be the director of football, and Jason Wilcox should have stayed as a technical director. I was a bit surprised that Wilcox was basically promoted to director of football. And I still think that that's probably an issue. Because quite clearly, we spent money on Dan Ashworth to get him out of Newcastle. We then sacked him, and it was, quite embarrassing because he was there for like a minute and a half, and we had to pay him for that. And I think they made a decision on basically like, yeah, we're not going to spend more money to go get another director of football. And they just like Jason, so they gave Jason the role. And then they had Vivell. And I think what they did was they just took the role of the technical director. And either Jason's doing both, or they split it up. Because we don't actually have a technical director, do we? So we had a director of football. We had a technical director. All right? And we took the technical director, made him our director of football. Who the fuck is the technical director? We always left a gap there. And I would assume it's to save money. Or it's to, they didn't want that extra person in there because maybe it makes it difficult to come to an agreement. But, I don't really like that. Renoso says, Johnny says, I remember seeing a report about a month or two back where it said Wilcox still wants to bring Delap. Jesus. What's up with him? I mean, I didn't see that, so I hope that was just like fake or something. Because if that's true, that's fucking scares me. You know what I mean? He rejected us to go to Chelsea for Champions League. He's been de crap at Chelsea. And he would still want to go get him. Renoso's here. Renoso, what's up? Says, Vivell is legit, it seems. Wilcox needs to take a fucking hike. And we just need another Vivell equivalent from France, which is another league that develops future stars. Again, I know nothing about running a football club, though. Well, no, I mean, like, listen, I mean, I don't know if it has to be from France, okay? But I do agree, and I did say this a while ago, like, I think Vivell has sort of a certain level of track record and a bit of a credibility, and he is sort of this, has nothing to do with English football, but, when Ineos or Sajim or whoever the fuck it was, basically was like, we're going to get best in class, like, I look at Vivell and I say he's best in class. I look at Jason Wilcox and I say, well, I don't know if he's best in class. I think there's an argument to say that he's wouldn't be considered best in class, which leads me to the sort of ultimate conclusion that if I can look at one guy and say, yeah, he fits the bill of best in class, and the other guy, I kind of got to think about it. I feel like if I got to think about it, then the answer is probably he fucking ain't, And that's sort of where we are. And I'm like, well, we should really have, Vivell where Vivell is. Maybe Vivell should be the fucking director of football. We should have somebody at the level of Vivell as the technical director. And we should have another fucking, because Vivell is head of recruitment. So, I mean, unless you keep Vivell at head of recruitment, but we should have somebody on the same level. And I don't think Jason Wilcox is on the same level. So, I don't, Has he even ever been a director of football, Jason? I don't think he's ever even held that position. So, West Ham's left back looks like a talent. Good crossing range, too. I actually watch quite a lot of West Ham just for him because he'd be reasonably priced too if West Ham go down. Who is he? Let's see. Oh, did you tell us? Right back department is kind of cooked. Lewis Hall would be a good option, but he racks up a lot of injuries now. What happened to Alphonso Davies too? Dude was consistently talked about as one of the best left backs, then disappeared to injuries. Injuries, too many injuries. Bad injuries as well. He's become a bit injury prone. He gets like a one very big injury a season, and he's sort of fucking disappeared in that sense because that's what happens when you can't play and you're missing a lot of games. You're not making the impact. I don't know if he's injured right now, but I know that I think in the last couple of seasons, Johnny, he had at least 2 or 3. In the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's had like 2 or 3 like pretty major injuries where they were seriously bad injuries. Diouf is his name. That's his name. I was going here to check it because I didn't know. El Haji Malik Diouf, 6 foot, 21 years of age. Looks like a good profile for that. He's plays left back, left-footed left back. Left-footed left back can also play left mid. It says, if we need him to. So maybe he's a bit like Dorgu in that sense. I mean, kind of. He could kind of play left mid as well. They did sign him for 22 million euros. I hate how it's in euros, but okay. They signed him for 22 million euros. And we could probably get him for a decently good price. Let's see. Just trying to see if I could see some things about his game. He's got a decently high expected assist rate for a left back. I think he has 5 assists this season. His dribbling isn't great, though. Maybe that has to do with West Ham and the way they play. Well, I don't know. I'll pay attention to West Ham's next game, and I'll scout it myself. I need the eye test. I don't like to use statistics without the eye test. But yeah, we do got to go into a couple other things, okay? So, throws a lot of crosses in for Senegal and West Ham. All right, fair enough. I mean, I'll see next time West Ham play if we're not playing or something. I'll check him out myself. See what he's about. I think I mean I've heard about him once or twice, but I don't remember specifically paying attention to him. So, because I think I watched the match where they played Chelsea. I'm pretty sure, probably a while ago. It was back on the January 31st. I watched that match. I think he looked pretty good in that one, actually, if I remember. But I haven't watched many. So, but we do need a couple more things. Okay, there's been an update in the manager situation. All right, there's been an update in the manager sort of bro, I guess. Okay. Ben Jacobs saying, I don't believe Michael Carrick can currently be considered the leading candidate for the permanent Manchester United manager role. Did not expand on that. But, I will say this. While Ben Jacobs is a journalist / reporter, okay, that is a pure opinion. So there's nothing to back that. So he can say that. It's one of the things that I don't necessarily like about Ben Jacobs because listen, I don't care if you give an opinion, but like you're known as a journalist, okay? So like you need to like I don't like when he makes those statements because for me, okay, people there's a lot of people out there that will read that or hear you say it, okay, and they will think like you're saying that because you have some sort of inside knowledge that's not privy to the public, which is formulating your opinion. And he doesn't expand on that. He doesn't say, I don't believe Carrick can currently be considered the leading candidate for the permanent Manchester United manager because this is happening at the football club. You know, if you say that, then it's like, okay. So it's a bit of opinion, but there's a piece of news back there. But that's literally just an opinion. There's no, you know, where's the substance for the reason of why? And people take that as like, oh, well, Ben Jacobs is saying, you know, there must be something else going on because he doesn't believe it. Okay, but like he's just a person as well. He can fucking believe or not believe whatever he wants. So, but he also did say that Roberto De Zerbi, Julian Nagelsmann, and Roberto Martinez are among the names currently being discussed for the Manchester United manager role. I'll tell you this now. If we get Roberto Martinez, I will cry. Just as I would cry if we got Gareth Southgate, okay? I don't want to see fucking Roberto Martinez at Manchester United. I don't like the guy. I haven't liked him. I don't fucking rate him. I never rated him, okay? I got 3 friends that are Portuguese, okay? I talk about them a lot on this channel. Benfica fan, Porto fan, Sporting fan. I've known them for like a good 15 years of my life, all right? They got Roberto Martinez as Portugal coach. I shit on them immediately for it, okay? And I still think he's shit. I don't care if he's doing good with Portugal. Look at the fucking Portugal team. How can you not do good with that team? Okay? How can you not? Their team is stacked. Stacked. They have a stacked squad. You know, the Tooth Fairy could fucking do a good job with them. All right? So, like, I don't like him. This guy's been doing international football for I don't even know how many years it's been. I don't want him. Don't want him. I think he's shit. I don't think he's good. Didn't really rate him when he was in the Prem. Don't like him. Don't care what anybody has to say. You ain't gonna convince me otherwise. That's it. I've had my say, and it's never gonna change. Don't like the guy. Don't want him. Don't want him. I'm open for some other guys. I'm a little bit less, you know, whatever. But him, he's basically on the same level as Gareth Southgate. Never want to see them at Manchester United. If they are hired as Manchester United managers, I will be thoroughly fucking embarrassed. I will be thoroughly embarrassed to sit there and have this guy in charge of a football club and watch the shit that goes down with him as manager, because I think it would just be fucking garbage. The reason I say France is it seems like France and Germany are major hubs for talent entering Europe. PSG and Bayern can't sign every player from those leagues, so they end up heading to England or Spain. I mean, yeah, to a certain degree. You know, there's a lot of teams, okay? You know, Germany, France, you know, even Spain. Spain's a little bit different because they have to automatically put release clauses in the players' contracts, but they have a loophole around that. And what they do is like they put ridiculous release clauses for players that nobody will ever pay, because nobody's ever paid it yet, right? I mean, like for example, like Lamine Yamal has I could be wrong about this, but somebody like Lamine Yamal typically would have something around like a 400 million buyout clause. No one's paying fucking 400 million for Lamine Yamal. You know what I mean? Nobody's doing it because otherwise they'd go do it. And then also you need Lamine Yamal to agree to leave. So not only do you need to come up with that money, which nobody fucking has, and Spain tends to do that. There is a loophole. I actually found this out because I didn't know, because I think once upon a time they weren't really doing that, and I found out that Spain by law requires the clubs to put a release clause on every player, because there's some sort of law, like they are not like basically like they're not like some sort of a slave or something like that, or they can't be held to ransom by the clubs, because I think the clubs were basically like maybe trapping the players there, or you know what I mean. So it has to do something like that. So they basically are forced to put release clauses, but they found a loophole in it, in that, okay, you're forcing us to put a release clause, but we're going to put the release clause so fucking high that nobody's going to pay for it. So, and then most players, like if you're at a Barca or a Real Madrid, you know, you don't want to leave anyway, so you won't mind if they tell you, yeah, listen, we're going to put the, you know, we're going to put the release clause at like 400 million, something like no one will ever pay. And they're like, okay, yeah, because they're required to do it. So, but yeah, I mean, but listen, like, listen, there's a Portuguese guy, okay, director of football. To me, I would consider him the best in class in his position, at his job at PSG. All right. So he is there in France, but he's Portuguese. You know, there's these guys are all over the place. It's not, you know, it's really about the individual themselves. I don't know necessarily, you know, they could be in Germany, they could be in France, but ultimately it doesn't matter. I mean, if the fucking guy is in the, you know, if there's a guy in the Italian league, go get him. If he's in Spain, go get him. If he's, you know, if he's in France, go get him from there. If he's, you know, if there's a guy that's in fucking Croatia or something, you know, go get him from there. Just whoever it is, you know, that's, you know, but they're not going to do that. They got their guys set. The only way that happens is if shit keeps sort of failing or not making the proper progress, because this is sort of like, you know, it's a bit like the snake eating itself to a certain degree. Like, Wilcox and Barada can maybe get away with throwing a bunch of shit on the manager for a certain period of time, but at some point, Sejim is gonna fucking, you know, eat one of them for it, okay? And at some point, if it doesn't make a certain level of progress, or it regresses or goes backwards, you know, Sejim will chop one of them off, because Sejim's going to end up getting the brunt of the backlash, and from the majority of fans, if shit goes sideways or shit turns out bad or shit isn't going well. And if Sir Jim's getting the backlash, Sir Jim's going after one of them, because he's like, because basically what I would assume is get a bit of the heat off of you, sack one of those fucking guys, throw them under the bus, blame them for half the shit, get somebody else in, take at least half of the pressure off of you, and say, well, yeah, listen, I had this guy here, he did his job shit, okay? We sacked him now, though, so it's okay, and we got this guy in, and he's going to take care of it, and everything's going to be okay. So, I know we changed the subject, but I already typed all that shit out. No, it's fine. Yeah, Roberto Martinez in interviews knows the sport, but he seems like that bookworm nerd that might know a lot of shit, but still gets tossed in the dumpster. Well, there's book smarts and street smarts, yeah? So, yeah, I saw that about Spain, and Spain at the moment is still the promised land for a lot of players from around the world, especially the weather difference. If you're from Latin America, why move to rainy England? Well, that is one of the big things, right? You know, the weather for the Latin Americans. Plus, also, it's just like in their culture, you know, like Latin Americans, South Americans, okay? Like, you know, Argentinians, and I don't even know if they're called Argentinians. I think they're called Argentines. I always call them Argentinians, though. It sounds better to me. But Argentines and Colombians and, you know, anybody down from there, I mean, it's kind of like, shit. You know, I would maybe liken it to I guess some other parts of the world, like, basically like Nigeria, like large parts of Africa, um, I think like Australia, and there's like another country somewhere where it's like predominantly there's like a lot of Manchester United fans in that specific area. Like most of the people are Manchester United fans. It seems to be like sort of in that culture or in that area. The Latin Americans, it's basically, it's La Liga football. Like it's like you're going to find most of them, majority of them, they're either Real Madrid or they're Barcelona. So, it makes sense. And that's why a lot of them, plus the weather is the same and stuff like that. So, or it's similar. So, and that's been brought up from time to time. But also, Ben Jacobs did say that Carlo Ancelotti and Thomas Tuchel are not being considered for the Manchester United position. Now, I might have missed something somewhere, and maybe that update wasn't true or whatever, but I could have swore there was an update about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Did they not say that, like, Thomas Tuchel was going to stay at England and sign, like, a new contract? And that, like, Ancelotti was going to do the same? Because, like, I thought that was pretty, like, confirmed. So I already thought that they were basically, that was them done. So, maybe that wasn't accurate. But the way I read it and saw it, they pretty much reported it like, I'm pretty sure they said something like Thomas Tuchel is going to be staying with England. So he's out of the Manchester United job. So I don't know why they keep being, they're still being mentioned. I kind of just assumed, well, those are two options gone. Now, just a second on Carlo Ancelotti. Okay. Wherever he may be with his little update. Where is it? Gareth Bale, okay, said, I think Carlo Ancelotti would do great at Manchester United. He's not just a manager, he's a coach as well. He can handle the tactical side. And that was him on the overlap. And I also do think the same, and that's also sort of why I've been saying the whole time, I'm like, listen, if Carrick does well, I guess, we'll go with Carrick, because these other guys, like Roberto Martinez or fucking De Zerbi, I don't see that much of a difference. But if you're talking about getting me a Carlo Ancelotti, there's definitely a difference. Number one, the experience. Also, the CV speaks for itself. But he is a guy that can manage and coach. He can do both. He's been doing it for a while. And I think he's still very good at it. So, and to me, I would say, like, if it's serious time at Manchester United, like if it's serious time, I think if you go get me Carlo Ancelotti and you put him in charge, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, we're actually not fucking around right now. Like, it's actually serious time. Like, we're looking to get shit done. Like, this season and next season, we're looking to get shit done. Like, proper shit. Like, we're actually gonna actually try and go and win this thing and make it like a huge push. Because he's just that level of a manager. With Carrick, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, maybe Carrick can do as well. And maybe he could do really good. But I don't know what Carrick can necessarily accomplish. Some people want to say Carrick can take us to the promised land. Maybe he can. But I don't know if he can. I think with Carrick, it's sort of a bit of a more open book. Whereas if you get Carlo Ancelotti, you're looking at the situation and you're saying, well, yeah, we're going to go fucking, we're actually going to go win the league in the next 1 or 2 seasons. Like, we're here to go make the push. Like, the actual legitimate push. With Michael Carrick, it's like, I don't know how far he can take us. Maybe he could take us really far. Maybe he can only take us so far. Maybe we got to see how it goes over the next 3 years or so. And with Carlo, you finish 3rd this season. You get this money from the Champions League. We're back in the Champions League. It's just a different vibe. It's just a different feeling. But it doesn't look like we're going to get him. So, it doesn't look like, Ben Jacobs is saying that we're not even, now apparently we're not even looking at them. I don't know if you can even look at them if they they're not being considered. Well, yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like both of them signed a new contract with the national team, so I don't know why this is like I was right. Yeah. Like we discussed this. So but we do have a couple other things, okay? Let's move. Number one, we talked about this a little bit, all right? Manchester United expect to receive, I don't know why they put it in euros. Fabrizio does this a lot. Maybe it's because he's Italian, all right? But again, I keep saying, like, Manchester United is an English club. The prices should be in pounds, okay? And I really hate going back and forth between fucking, euros and pounds because there's a difference. But United are expected to receive around 80 million euros this summer from the possible sales of Rasmus Højlund plus Marcus Rashford. 44 million for Rasmus Højlund euros. Marcus Rashford, 30 million euros. That much we know. And Fabrizio said Napoli are expected to trigger Højlund's buy option, while United believe FC Barcelona will find a way to pay the 30 million for Rashford. But it was just reported that they will pay the 30 million and they will pay 10 million a year. Also, by the way, like Barcelona, how the fuck can you not afford 10 million for the next 3 years? How can you not afford 10 million? 10 million? Because we ain't even asking for the 30. We're not asking for 30 up front. We're asking you, take the deal, take the fucking wage, pay the wages, okay, and pay us 10 million for the next 3 years. You can't afford 10 million over the next 3 years? I don't believe that. How are you still alive? How is your club operating if you can't afford to pay 10 million over the next 3 years? That's crazy. That's so crazy that I find it so hard to believe that I just, it can't. It can't be. Can't be. I don't believe them. I don't believe them with their little fiddle, their little violin. All right. How? You should be you should be in the administration at this point. If this is what, what's happening. All right. You can't afford 10 million a year. We are tracking a player from Dortmund, not Adeyemi, okay? Although we are tracking Adeyemi. But another player from Dortmund, his name is Julian Ryerson. This is a player that I'm actually not familiar with, so I'm about to do a quick Google check on him and just see what I can just see what he's about slightly. Norwegian. Bundesliga, 21 matches, okay? He's got 0 goals, but 9 assists. He's fucking 28. Nah. Where does he play? Defender. 6 foot, 190 pounds. Okay. It says he's valued at 20 million euros. And apparently he is a right back. All right. Right back, 21 appearances, 11 assists. Okay. 28 years of age. I don't know if he necessarily fits what Ineos has been going after, but maybe they do make an exception for a player or two at some point. Okay? Because, I don't know, what are we going to do? Fill the entire team with a bunch of 21-year-olds to 23-year-olds and just have a team like that? Maybe they make an exception for a player or two in a position or two. Funnily enough, okay, on Transfer Market, it gives you a little tab here where it says current rumors and it says interested club, okay, and it says user assessment, okay, and Manchester United, Newcastle, Barcelona, and Liverpool are in this sort of graph here, and it gives you a percentage based on user assessment of how many of what people think, I guess, how it's leaning. And Barcelona have a 41% user assessment that they're sort of leading the race in this to sign him. Oh, so you can afford 20 million euros. You can afford to pay 10 million. Well, actually, it'd be less. I guess if you sign him to like a 5-year deal, they're paying like 2.5 million or some shit like that. Or a 4-year deal at 5 million a year. But you can afford to do that, but you can't give us 10 million for Marcus Rashford this season. All right. I see how it is. He is also a bit versatile, apparently, because it does say here that while his main position is right back, he can also play right midfield, and has maybe played right midfield a couple times or a few times, and he can also play left back. He has played there before. So, the versatility box checks. He's played centre back for Dortmund twice this season, and he's played left mid for Dortmund twice, and just also this season specifically. And at centre back, he ended up getting an assist from centre back. So he has 1 assist in 2 matches at centre back, and he also has 1 assist as a left midfielder in 2 matches as a left midfielder. So, you know what? Maybe we need somebody like him, a bit on the older side. I mean, he is 28. November, he'll be 29. I feel like it's a bit old, but maybe for a very low price, maybe they'd be willing to take it. I mean, it doesn't really solve our problem long term, though. Because, I mean, he could maybe give us a few good years, but we're going to have to go and get somebody else. So, I don't know. But Ben Jacobs, that's what he's reporting. But here's the Christopher Vivell one, okay? Because I've stalled long enough, all right? So Christopher Vivell has recommended Yan Diomande to Manchester United. With the winger now among the leading targets, there is also a strong expectation that United will invest heavily in a left wing signing. Okay, and yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more to this too somewhere. I need to find it. But obviously, Leipzig link, Bundesliga link there, okay, for Vivell, and Yan Diomande. Yan Diomande being linked with us for a few months now. Link's not going away. Supposedly Leipzig want 100 million. Then they're never going to get 100 million. I don't think they're going to get 100 million. I'm just looking for the Yan Diomande. There was more to that update. Yan Diomande. Christopher Vivell has put forward Yan Diomande for Manchester United. He is one of their leading targets for the left wing position. Let's see what other news is also surrounding Yan Diomande, because it might be important to go outside of Manchester United and see who else is he being linked with, or what other clubs are getting sort of linked with him outside of us, so we could get maybe a bigger, fuller picture. Florian Plettenberg reported, since a transfer for Michael Olise in the summer is not considered realistic, Liverpool's Bundesliga focus has shifted to Yan Diomande. Liverpool in there as well. 19-year-old is being monitored, and talks have already taken place. Liverpool FC are exploring the market for a high-class winger in the summer, as Mohamed Salah and Federico Chiesa could leave the club. I do expect that to happen. Leipzig are demanding up to 100 million euros for Diomande. Therefore, a move to FC Bayern is currently also unrealistic. That I fully expect, because Bayern have a sort of a structure that they do not go above. And they will not pay 100 million for a 19-year-old. They just will not fucking do it. And you know what? Good for them. They shouldn't do it. they've taken care of their club in the right way by making smart signings for the proper prices and not getting carried away. Ben Jacobs has said, and this is a little bit more added on to the initial update for United. I'm fairly confident that there will be a left winger signing at Manchester United in the summer. Yan Diomande is one of the leading targets put forward by Christopher Vivell, and there's a realistic expectation that Manchester United will go big in their left wing signing. Well, it's quite interesting because, I mean, if you just sort of do the math right now, we signed 3 players, and we're pretty much sitting around somewhere of, 250 million for 3 players, 2 central midfielders, and a left winger of some sort, something like that. Maybe Yan goes from anywhere from 60 million, 70 million, maybe 80. I don't know. They're asking for 100. How much lower are they going to drop? I don't know. But maybe let's just say 60 to 80 for argument's sake right now. Okay. You have somebody like Elliot Anderson. I mean, how much is he going to go for? Maybe also 60 to 80. And then, Baleba or Tonali or something. Baleba, maybe another 60 or so. Or if you get Tonali or somebody like that, I mean, So 3 players. I'm just trying to see if the math sort of maths out because we're going big on the midfield, but we're going to go big on the left wing as well. I also then kind of want to know, like, if we're going big on the wing, how do we actually make it all fit together in terms of... Right now we have Cunha sort of playing on the wing. Gray said he's not a winger. I would agree that, I mean, I think it's a little bit like Bruno to a certain sense. Like, can you put Cunha out on the wing? Can he do decently good sometimes or good sometimes and not so good some other times? Yeah. Would you prefer him to play him in a different position that you would argue suits him better and is the better position for him to be playing? Yes. So if that's the case, then we go for a left winger. So, because we have Mbeumo, we have Diallo on the right. And Mbeumo can kind of play both, I guess. Diallo, we've never, and I don't know why this is a thing, but we've never played Diallo on the left ever. Even though, he could play on the left, but we've never played him on the left. Once or ever, but we got to move Cunha, right? I guess you move Cunha, but how do you move Cunha and where do you put Cunha? You can't really, he's not going to take Bruno's spot. And, most people would like Sesko to be the starter if he's doing well and would probably prefer Sesko to be the striker than maybe Cunha. And then you get the winger in. So if we're going to go big on the winger, we expect the winger to start. Then we have Dorgu. And what are we going to do with him? Because he's a left back. Left winger / left back. I mean, he was basically playing left mid before he got injured. So I don't know how we, really set that up. Because I just feel like it in some area of that pitch, I do think we need a winger, but then also, when you start shifting some players around, I just feel like, you know what, maybe I'm overthinking it because we got to play a lot of games next season, and we're going to need sort of a strong, deep, strong depth. So, maybe we just need to have players that are maybe like a Cunha or like a Diallo or whoever it could be, plus maybe a Mount or somebody else, somebody different, plus the new additions. And maybe we just have we have a really sort of a really strong starting lineup. And then we look at the bench and we say, the bench is pretty fucking stacked. It's kind of hard to keep those guys on the bench, which is, I think that's what we do need. We do need sort of, I actually think we need to look at the team and be like, how the fuck do you fit all these guys in here? And ultimately you can't, but I think that's what we need. So maybe that's just what we got to do. We got to go big on the left winger and have these guys, and just basically have it like, well, what do you do with Cunha? What do you do with this guy? Somebody's got to sit. And that way we have an actually really good level of quality on the bench. And actually the bench is quite deep. And actually we almost have half of a starting 11 that could be a starting 11 on the bench for next season. So Yan Diomande. I'm saying here Leipzig will still want around 70 million pounds if they are to sell Yan Diomande, who has been linked with Liverpool and Manchester, and among others. Leipzig don't want to lose the forward, but they have accepted that they will sell him at the right price. Well, hopefully, with Vivell's sort of connections to Leipzig, if any sort of significant movement comes from another football club, Vivell can get alerted, and maybe we can stay on top of that. Because I think it's obviously still far too early. Okay, so they can hold talks all they want, but I think we should be doing probably something similar. Especially if Christopher Vivell has made him the leading target. And yeah, I mean, he does look like a very good player. He's young, but he does have good work rate. He's a good presser, and he works really hard tracking back. He sounds like an Ahmad. And, our former manager said it once upon a time, and I said it before he even said it publicly. And I said, we need another Ahmad. We need another Ahmad. We got an Ahmad on the right. We need an Ahmad on the left. We need it. We need a guy that's a team player, that's a good presser, that works really hard tracking back to defend as an attacking winger. So I entrust Christopher Vivell in his judgment on the picks. And, there's a lot of hype, big hype around this sort of kid. All right. And it's his leading target. So, let's see how it goes. There was like one or two other things that we need to touch on. By the way, what's the score of Tottenham? I mean, there's no way. Yeah, they lost 3-1. Tottenham are going down. Spurs are definitely getting relegated. Who they got to play? Left. They got to play. So they got to go to Spain, play Atletico Madrid in 5 days from now. They then have to, 5 days after that, play Liverpool at Anfield. They then, 3 days after that, have to play Atletico Madrid at Spurs Stadium. They then have to play Forest, Sunderland, Brighton, Wolves, Villa, Leeds, Chelsea, and Everton. And the way they are performing now, I can't see them. I mean, the one with Forest is fucking massive, and they're gonna be dead. Yeah, they're gonna be dead. Playing against Atletico Madrid, going to Spain, coming back, playing Liverpool away from home, playing Atletico Madrid again, Diego Simeone. Okay, and then like 4 or 5 days after playing the second leg of the Champions League, they got to play Forest, and they're gonna be home. And that's like a 6. That is definitely a 6-pointer right there. And Forest doing what Forest has kind of done against the bigger teams. All right. I mean, they just tied City 2-2, and they were away from home. So I could see Forest beating them. Sunderland. I think Sunderland can win at home against Villa. I mean, against Tottenham. I think Tottenham versus Brighton. I think that could be a draw. Wolves. I've just had 2 massive results. Okay, and I think Wolves can. I think Wolves can beat Spurs. All right, and Wolves can do a little bit of we're going down. You're coming with us, motherfuckers. Villa, I would expect Tottenham to win. I would expect Villa to beat Tottenham and Villa at home. And then there's Leeds, and I expect Chelsea to beat Tottenham, and then I could see Everton beating Tottenham. So I think these guys are fucked. I think they're screwed. I don't know who Forest and West Ham have to play though, but well, West Ham's got to play City, Brentford, City, Villa. They got some tough games as well. Wolves, Palace, Everton, Brentford, Arsenal, Newcastle, Leeds. Yeah, that's tough for West Ham as well. They're gonna have to get some fucking results out of this. That's tougher than Tottenham. But Tottenham are just L. Like they ain't even trying anymore, I think, at this point. And Forest is a decently hard one as well. They got to play a couple big teams as well. So, interesting. No buying kids from foreign leagues. Joke club. We may be flunking more than Chelsea. Would we ever win the Club World Cup with this squad? No. No. We can't win the Club World Cup in the squad. We can't win any. We wouldn't win the Club World Cup. We won't win won't win the Premier League. We won't win the fucking. We won't win the Champions League. We maybe could have won the Europa League with this team because I think the attack would have helped, considering we lost by 1 goal and it was the shittiest goal ever and we couldn't score a goal, and I think the attack has improved. And maybe we could have won that, but yeah. Did somebody mention my Wolves? Yes. Wolves or Spurs. I'm looking for Wolves. I'm looking for your Wolves to do another beauty and drag Spurs down into the championship with them. Drag them down into the shit. Okay? It would just be really funny. It would be really funny. I mean, not for the Spurs fans, because I'm looking at images and I mean they're fucking in just pure pain and agony. But yeah, it would be funny. It would be fucking hilarious. It would be hilarious. Yeah. Spursy is trending. Spursy is trending online. All right. Fuck. There was Nagelsmann was trending before, and I wanted to click on it, but now, maybe it's just because he was linked to us. Manchester United focusing on Julian Nagelsmann, Roberto Martinez, and De Zerbi as top candidates to replace Ruben Amorim, was sacked in January after a poor win rate. Carrick sparked a revival, lifting the team 3rd in the Premier League, though he lost his unbeaten run Wednesday against 10-man Newcastle. Fans chant for Carrick, but club sources favored the trio, with a decision expected after the Summer World Cup. Again, I don't know like how that is necessarily gonna go though, because I just don't know if that's the best sort of course of action, the best route. I mean, you know, it's not my job to really be on top of it because, again, like my thoughts and my actions aren't really going to have any sort of impact on Manchester United. But like, Is it ultimately the correct process and the right process to make that decision after the Summer World Cup? I know a lot of the business, or the majority of the business, is probably going to happen after the World Cup, but there is like some players that are not going to be involved in the World Cup. Should we not be doing the transfers for them? Should we not be looking to get them in, while the World Cup is going on, while they're not there? Because we're losing basically a whole month. Also, I mean, like, if you're hiring the guy after the World Cup, how much time does he have to really think about and, give a proper thought process to maybe any of the potential players on the short list to pick or give his input to the board? Or does that not matter? This is the part that confuses the shit out of me, and I think they're doing it on purpose so they can just fucking play it whichever way they want. But they seem to tell us, like, one of the stories that they were telling us is like, oh, we can't do any January transfers because we don't have a permanent manager, so we can't really do that. But then they already have like a bunch of lists of targets, and every day we're getting updates about, well, they've already decided to go for Elliot Anderson. Okay, so the manager doesn't fucking matter then. Yeah, doesn't matter who we have. Doesn't matter if you get De Zerbi, Martinez, Nagelsmann. Doesn't matter if they want them. We're gonna go get Elliot Anderson, right? We're gonna go and get Yan Diomande. Doesn't matter if they come in and say, I don't really want Yan Diomande, I want this winger. No, decision's already made. But you told us that you couldn't make a signing in January because we don't have a manager. So, which fucking one actually is it? What is it? What actually is it? I think they did this bullshit on purpose. Now, I do have to just address real quick before we get out of here, okay? Some of the fan base yesterday, I mean, people lost their shit because we lost, okay? It wasn't a good performance, all right? It was very disappointing that we were up a man and we couldn't beat, or we couldn't find an answer, and ultimately we ended up and going to lose to a 10-man Newcastle team, okay? I get it. And nobody's saying that that's like, necessarily okay. All right. But this shit happens. And then all of a sudden, people just fucking come out of nowhere and start stirring shit up again and start saying random shit. And like some of the reaction from the fan base has just been like, I actually didn't really expect it, because it just, they're reacting like we just like bottled the Premier League or something. Like, like they're acting like we had the title in our hands and we fucking bottled it. That's how they're acting like. Like, yeah, okay, it's a loss and it wasn't a great display and it was a great performance, but like the guy came in and did a better job, and I've said this multiple times. Carrick come in and he's done a better job than anybody could have fucking imagined him doing. Nobody imagined him getting the amount of points. If you said 7 matches, 8 matches, how many points is Michael Carrick? Nobody gave him the amount of points that he actually got. Okay, so he came in and exceeded expectations. This guy takes 1 L, okay, and people are freaking the fuck out like it's the end of the world, going crazy and just saying the most ridiculous shit, writing paragraphs, okay? You got people, like, listen to some of this reaction. This guy literally wrote like a whole fucking paragraph, all right? This one person said, I can't believe we reached this point, but it's so obvious the majority of United fans don't like Mano deep down. Jumping on him at any given opportunity. Yes, he was poor last night, but so was everyone other than Bruno in the second half. Okay, and then this guy replied to that and said, y'all hated Amorim loudly on this platform. No shame, no patience, no context. You rejected reality. and hid behind stats you don't even understand. 30% win rate became your security blanket as if numbers exist in a vacuum. You forgot the mess he inherited. 6 months later, that same mess turned into Cunha and Buemosesco Lemons, actual footballers. And just when the project started breathing, from 15th to 6th, top in chance creation, territory, and control, you pulled the plug. Well, we didn't pull the plug. Ineos pulled the fucking plug. And it had nothing to do, and again, listen, they didn't sack him because the fans because some fans want him sacked, so. Nobody gets immunity. No nostalgia, no age. If Kobe Mainu drops stinkers, I'll say it. I mean, that's fine, should be. If Lemons, Cunha, or anyone else hides, I'll say it, should be. That's not hate, standards, I agree. Bench, whoever isn't ready, call out whoever is bluffing from the pitch to the touchline. And yes, Carrick 2, no manager safe from accountability. Yeah, I mean, like, people are just having a fucking total meltdown because we lost a match. And it's like, bro, where do these people actually live? I actually I actually really feel bad for some of these people because I think some of them are just jerk-offs that say shit just to say shit. But I do think that there is a section of these people that they truly hold this belief in their heart and they don't actually see, like, they kind of have the blinders on. Maybe they're very tunnel vision and they are maybe just very focused on like one singular thing. And they truly believe if you make one change, like it's going to be the change that, the changes of all changes that leads us to the success. And it gets broken very easily because it's not a secular change. It never was a secular change. It's not going to be a secular change. It never is. It never will. It never was. As much as I backed Ruben, I was said a lot of the times, I said, there's a lot of shit that goes beyond the manager. There's a lot of shit that goes to the players, to the personnel, to the board. But somehow we always tend to end up in the conversation of the manager, the formation, the system, manager, shit, change it, it'll be better. And then when it only takes us so high, yay so far, people start panicking because they're like, wait, that can't be right. That can't be right. We made the change that I know was correct. We're supposed to be higher. It like sort of shatters their reality or something, and they can't fucking handle it, and they start panicking, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta find something. I gotta find something. It's gotta be something. There's gotta be something else. What is it? What am I not seeing? It's almost like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you ever watched that show, when Charlie Day is going crazy, and he's got all the fucking. He's got all the things on the board with all the strings and shit, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's looking cracked out, and he he can't figure it out. He's like, what the fuck? Like, dude, people need to, open their eyes a little bit, take a step back, but also fucking relax. Like, all I'm seeing is a bunch of people coming out, talking about Ruben, okay? And then talking about Carrick after one loss to Newcastle and one loss and his first loss being in charge of United, okay? And I don't even fucking get it. I don't get it. What are you what is that supposed to prove? What are you supposed to do? Ruben's never coming back. He lost his chance. Okay? And what's it got to actually do with Michael Carrick? Why don't you take the time to write a paragraph about fucking Ineos? Because they're the ones that made the decision. They're the ones that went about the process. Why are you actually arguing with United fans that didn't like Ruben or wanted Ruben sacked? Because ultimately, Ineos didn't do it for them. They didn't do it because of them. They did it because he said bad things about them publicly, and so they were like, fuck you, and fired him. And I think that part of the fan base gets so lost into this, And actually, it probably plays right into like the Glazers' hand in that it actually divides us. Because now people are basically the ones that wanted Ruben sacked, okay, and asked for a formation change, and are basically the same guys that are super happy, most of them, are super happy that Carrick came in. Okay, they wanted Carrick. They wanted anybody but Ruben. They got Carrick, and they got their 4 back. And it's gone extremely well. And they've been, really happy. Okay? And we suffer a loss. And all these other guys that just, can't be, I don't know, like regular fucking human beings or something. They got to be like weirdos. That they're just like, they're holding a grudge. And this happens for every manager. It's been happening for time now. Okay? I think it started under Mourinho. Because I don't really remember it happened under Van Gaal. All right? But I can remember it. There was the Mourinho fan club people. Okay? Mourinho got sacked. Ali came in. The Mourinho fan club people that didn't feel like Mourinho deserved to be sacked, they fucking attacked Solskjaer and hated Solskjaer. And then the people, same thing for them, that they didn't want Solskjaer to get sacked, or they didn't believe that Solskjaer should get sacked, and they felt aggrieved that he ended up getting sacked. They fucking hated Ten Hag. And the same thing happened for the people that didn't want Ten Hag to get sacked, or didn't think Ten Hag deserved some of the blame that Ten Hag got, and he got sacked, and they bring it to fucking Ruben. And now the same thing is happening with the people that didn't want Ruben to get sacked, and they're now bringing it to fucking Carrick. And it's like, bro, what actually is that, though? What actually is that? Because that feels weird to me. It feels really weird to me. Why do you have some weird emotional attachment in that way? Like I don't really understand that. It feels quite childish to me, but it's also weird. You should not, listen, it's one thing to hold the opinion and say they shouldn't have fucking sacked him. It was the wrong decision. It's a whole nother story to be like, Mourinho shouldn't have got sacked, so fuck Solskjaer because he took his job and he fucking sucks and he's worse than Mourinho. So fuck you, you little dumbass. You asked for Mourinho to get sacked and Solskjaer is shit. You're an idiot. And it's like, well, you do realize that guy that had that opinion, you do realize he doesn't run the club, right? You do realize he had no impact in actually Mourinho getting sacked. You do realize that guy had no. The fan that's writing shit on tweets or making a fucking video or sitting here on a YouTube channel saying if he should be sacked or not, you do realize that it had absolutely zero impact on the actual decision being made. They had zero impact. All they did was have an opinion and express it publicly. They had no impact because at the end of the day, the people running the club, they could do whatever they want. They can sack the person whenever they want. They can sack them for whatever reason. They could refuse to sack them and keep them there for however long they want, regardless of the fans. And some fans might say otherwise. And I tell you, well, I mean, they've showed it quite clearly. When they want, they can put two fingers in their ear and say, fuck you, we're not listening to you, and we don't care about you, and you don't fucking matter. All right? And when it's convenient for them, they'll do what appeases the fans. So I find a lot of this fallout, backlash sort of thing from the fan base. I find it a bit troubling, to be quite honest. I also find it a bit comical because I'm just like, I'm looking at it and I'm sort of kind of laughing in the fact that I'm like, the fuck is, what's wrong with you? Like, over emotional weirdos. Stop being over emotional about something you have absolutely no control over, and your fucking tweet doesn't matter. Call out the guy and be like, call him out, whatever. Writing paragraphs and bringing back Ruben up because Carrick lost a match yesterday and it looked like shit. And then, taking 20 minutes out of your day to write a fucking 7-page paragraph about comparing Ruben to Carrick. All right? Fine. But how about take it one step more And why don't you start saying shit about the board? Because that's what I was saying the whole time. And as much as I backed Ruben, I always said, whether it's Ruben here or not, I said the managers are going to have problems. The board needs to fix their shit. The board needs to do a lot of the big pulling of the weight. If they can't get their shit straight, doesn't matter what fucking manager you have. It's going to be shit. It might, one manager might be slightly better than the other manager, but ultimately they ain't going to succeed for what everybody wants them to do. And they will all fall short. Some will fall way shorter than others, but at the end of the day, if you're not winning, then you're not winning. It almost only counts in fucking horseshoes. Like, I love Wolves. Looking forward to Chell. Looking forward to Spurs Hammers 6-pointer. Ooh. Please sell Ugarte immediately. Well, by immediately, if you mean in the summer, yes, because that's the only time he can get sold. I mean, he ain't gonna get sold any other time. So, but yeah, I don't think he has a future. There's no way he has a future. I can't see him being here, but that does mean that we need to sign three central midfielders. So, because we could use one right now. Okay, we actually need one. We're missing one as it stands. Maybe again, we're sort of getting by without it because we are playing one match a week, and we've played our lowest total number of games in a season for I don't know how many years it's been, but it's like 15 plus or 20 or something like that. All right, but yeah, I don't see, he's fairly limited. He doesn't fit sort of this. I mean, if you look at the profile of some of the other guys that Ineos has brung in, okay, maybe, look at Cunha, look at Mbeumo, even Dorgu to a certain extent, even Mazawari, okay, they do have this aspect of versatility to them, okay? Lisandro has an aspect of versatility. Bruno has an aspect of versatility. Ugarte does not have versatility to him. Ugarte has limitedness to him. So I don't even think he fits, let alone forget the performances, okay? I don't even think he fits the profile of player that they actually want at the club. So they signed him. I don't fucking know. It was for a whole different time with a whole different manager and a whole different like system and playing and whatever. And they signed it for him, but it hasn't worked out. And I just don't see how, this is his second season. There's been nothing special, really. So I don't see how he survives past this year. I think he's gone. And if he's gone, you need three. You need three. Brian and Bremo, let rest on the bench. Let Amad Diallo start. I mean, you could do that, yes. To me, it wouldn't even just be. To me, it wouldn't even be about rest because, again, I don't understand how the players actually need rest. I don't. I actually don't. I actually don't necessarily agree with the rest argument. I don't think that he actually needs rest. He shouldn't be tired. If he's fucking tired, that's a big issue. Because what's going to happen next season? And there are players for teams that play or are playing way more matches and are playing way more minutes, and they're constantly, if they're one of their best players, they're starting every match. So I hope he's not like actually physically tired, because that's quite worrying to me. Because we're barely playing. We're playing one match a week. He needs to be rested. That's an issue. Because how is he going to survive next season? And he's considered one of our better players, is he not? He's considered an important player in the team. Well, we can't be resting. We can't be saying, well, he's really tired. We need to fucking rest him. And we're going into important matches, into the Champions League and maybe into the Premier League and maybe the FA Cup. Obviously, you got to rotate when you can. But if you can't handle if you're getting fatigued and performances are dropping in a season where you're playing your lowest total number of games in a season in forever, and you're playing one match a week, that's very concerning to me. What I would say is, based off of his performance in the last game, where he looked very off of it, and he didn't look so great, and he didn't perform great, but he didn't look sharp, I would drop him based off of performance-wise. I hope that he isn't actually burnt out. Because if you're burnt out playing one match a week, we got a bigger fucking issue. And he better have some sort of a fitness regimen in the summer to bring those fitness levels up, because we're going to fucking need him to be playing a lot of games. The fitness level for the players is going to have to be doubled. So that needs to be prepped properly, because there's no way that they should be tired. All right, if we're playing 65 plus games in a season, I can understand it. You're playing a lot of football. All right, you're playing Premier League, you're playing FA Cup, you're playing Champions League, you go to fucking AFCON, you go World Cup, you do this, you do that. Okay, I get it. You played like 75 games in one season. All right? I get how you can be fatigued. But not playing one match a week. One match a week, I could play one match a week. And I haven't played the game for like a good 7 years now. All right? I could play one match a week on a Sunday league. I could play one match a week. They should be able to play one match a week. 38 games plus a couple extra. Well, performance-wise, yes, I would argue, I would say that that's fine. But I'm just saying, I would hope that it's just a dip in form, and it's not because he's actually fatigued. Because if he's like actually fatigued, it's a bit, to me, that's kind of a concern. But you can just dip out of form. It doesn't have to necessarily do with like he's, physically fatigued or mentally fatigued or whatever, but it happens to players. Sometimes you're in very good form. Sometimes you go a little bit out of form. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think Diallo did necessarily anything bad in his game, performance-wise, to lose his spot. And Brian, over the last couple games, his performances have dipped a little bit. So I wouldn't have a problem with that if that change is made. And we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to necessarily be the game changer that we need, because I think ultimately it's one player, and maybe sometimes one player can be the difference maker, but how long can that be sustainable? The whole group needs to really step it up. I did see somebody the other day or today, they did say, this has been coming, that loss yesterday, that performance has been coming for a few weeks now. Yeah. And to a part point, I mean, Scholes did kind of say that, so he might be a bit slightly right there, but the way he went about it and the rest of his fucking message that he said was disgusting, and disgraceful. And I think he's a fucking clown for it. But we did talk about that ourselves. We did talk about that. We had community members mentioning it. Okay, Reynoso was saying it. A couple other guys were saying it. Okay, over the past couple of performances. I mentioned it as well. I said it, I think, in the day before we played the game. And I was saying, we have to go out there and do the job. We have to go out there and raise the level again, because the level has dropped a little bit against West Ham, against Everton, against Crystal Palace. It's not the same level that we were hitting when you compare it to the first 3 or 4 games we played. Okay, it's gone down, and I did say we can't play against Newcastle to the level that we played against West Ham or we played against Everton, but definitely West Ham because we didn't win that game. All right, and that's pretty much what we did yesterday. Yesterday, what we did was we played the same level we played against West Ham, but West Ham are fucking shit. All right, and they're potentially going to get relegated. Newcastle. They haven't had a great season. They are in 13th, but their team is much better. Much better. Their players are much better than West Ham. And we couldn't keep up with them. And ultimately, they outplayed us because we struggled to keep up with 11. And we went up a man, and I spent maybe from the 55th minute yesterday on the watch along, from the 55th minute to the last second of the game, I spent all that time asking the chat and saying, I don't feel like we are up a man. Does anybody feel like we were up a man watching that second half? Because I didn't. I didn't. I did not. There was not a feeling of like, they're fucked. We're totally just gonna absolutely obliterate them now. They were hanging in there. If they didn't show or tell us there was a red card, okay, and I turned on the game late, and there was no indication, and I had no clue that there was a red card. I was watching that game. I wouldn't even have known that they were down to 10 men, unless somebody told me. And that's how it was being played, and that's how it played out. So. I've been team sports where form touch goes and not quite been that great. Yeah, it happens to everybody. I've been through it too as well. And it's even worse when you know about it. You know what I mean? It's even worse when you know about it. You know me, I'm sort of a bit of a, maybe you could tell, maybe you're not, but by the way I sort of process things and talk about things, I'm a bit of I could be at times a bit of an overthinker. That happened to me too when I played, if you're aware of it and you know you're not playing well and it gets in your head and you're literally on the pitch thinking about it. You're literally thinking about, I ain't fucking playing good. The shit's not coming off. And actually, it's making it worse because you're frustrating yourself. You're not focused. Okay. And it starts eating away at you little by little because you want to do good. You're trying to do good. It's not fucking coming off for you. And you don't actually understand why. Because you're like, I was doing it before. Why am I not doing it now? Why can I not do what I was doing before? Why am I getting cooked right now? Why am I getting fucked up? Why can I not put in a crow? Why can I not beat this defender? Why am I getting fucking tossed off the ball? Why am I miskicking the ball? Why am I not making connection with the ball with my foot properly? I literally did it before. He missed that sitter yesterday. Okay? If you go back maybe a month ago, but he's putting that into the net. How he missed that sitter, I don't know. He didn't, obviously, I know like how, because he didn't connect with it properly. Okay? But like what I'm saying is like, he's scored a fucking, some type of a banger of a goal from a way harder position, from a way harder angle. And he scored it. But that tap in, he kicks it over the net. Losing games will give us a kick up the backside in a good way. Well, you would like to think so. And you would like to hope so. And hopefully that's what happens. Sometimes it has a more negative effect. Okay. But you would like to think so, Lucky. You would like to hope so. That's what happens. That's the sort of, I guess, the positive half glass full thinking on it. The half glass empty is that it could drag us down. It's going to be interesting to see how we respond. You know what I mean? Because this is sort of I mean, it's Carrick's first L in totality. Not even just like right now, but just in his whole, he was caretaker a couple times. He didn't even take an L then. So this is his first L. So he's got to deal with that. And then under this group of players, under this period, it's their first L under him. So he's got to deal with that. And we got to see the bounce back. So, Julian Nagelsmann, Sandro Tonali, brilliant, pushing Bruno, off ball, Kobe, game, Trippier, monster. Yeah, Joelinton, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, Joelinton just fucking was unstoppable. I mean, his size, his speed for his size, and there was nobody that we had that could handle him, and he was fucking just ripping right through us. And Carrick Jesus will be leaving us after this stream because we did say we would keep him here until we lose. So this will be the last stream that he will be appearing. So that's it. That's it. That was the promise I made, and we gotta keep that promise. So I bring him here. So everybody, if they want, they can say goodbye. But this is the last stream. So next stream, he won't be here. By the way, tomorrow, not sure if I'll be able to stream. Okay, but not sure if I'll be able to stream. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. Probably, most likely. Like, I'm about 95% sure that I won't be able to make it for stream tomorrow. So there will be no stream tomorrow. Okay. But let's see. I need to look at sort of tomorrow's Friday, Saturday, there's no games. Well, there's FA Cup, and there's Newcastle versus Manchester City. So we probably won't stream on Saturday either. Okay. And what's on Sunday? Unless something like major breaks, but I mean, I don't even expect it to be major. But yeah, Friday I can't make it. Saturday, just not great. Sunday we could do a stream Sunday. Okay, 8:15 p.m. on a Sunday. UK time, of course. 3:15 for me in my New York East Coast time. All right. So I think that's the next time we'll see each other. So usually we do the Friday streams, and I love the Friday streams, but just won't be able to do it. So everybody pretty much have, enjoy your Fridays, enjoy your Thursday, the rest of your Thursday, enjoy your Fridays, okay, and your Saturdays, so basically your weekend, all right? And we'll see each other on Sunday at 8:15. I will put out a reminder in both places, community tab, so if you have notifications on, you'll get notified of that, and also if you're a subscriber, it should pop up on your feed somewhere. And if you're in the Discord, you will get notified in the Discord as well. Just a reminder, since we're going to be gone for about 2 days, I will put it a day before and then the day of. So yeah. Lucky said Dan Burn, brilliant back line yesterday. We need kick ass to make us refresh and make change. Amad Diallo, Xerxes did more better. Xerxes, Amad Diallo came, made bit energy. Yeah, I know. We'll see. I mean, we have an 11-day period. Well, now I think it's like 10, and then tomorrow will be 9. Until we go and play. So we'll see. They got a bit of time to sort it out. I don't know how much Carrick's necessarily going to change, but he might change a couple things. But we should have some players back as well. So I mean, I think one of the aspects that we could do very well with is getting Lisandro back in there. Lisandro sits third in the Premier League for passes through the lines, okay? And he's a centre-back, third or fourth. Him and Casemiro. So I think if we could get Lisandro back in there, not only defensively, but also he does help a lot offensively. He's really good progressing the ball, whether it's carrying it or passing it. So that'll help. And I think Mount should be back. So, you know, we'll have a couple other options. Shaw should be not sick. And hopefully Mazawari, we still haven't got an update on him. He went off with a knock, so maybe he'll be available. And you know, we'll sort of see how that goes. As we get closer to the game, we'll get more of the answers and we'll get more of a shape and see what we should do about the team. Renosa says, have a good one, dude. You too, brother. Be good. Stay safe. Have a good night. Yeah, Dorgu's coming back close as well. He's doing some high quality, still individual training, but he is sort of on the grass doing fitness level stuff, and he'll be back soon as well. So not too far off. I don't know if he'll make it for the next game, but maybe the one after that. And if not the one after that, then certainly, you know, by the third match, I think he should be back as well. So we will see. But other than that, listen, everybody take care. Have a good night. I do have to go. Okay. Stay safe. Be good. And we'll see each other on Sunday. All right.